That was good little chatter, though.
No, that was, and we may use it, but it's just easier to edit when it's a shorter thing. So can I just say this one thing, Zeus, and not to cramp your style. When you do the countdown, lower your hand, take a silent two beat, and then start. Because we always get
So
all of our
don't
episodes
do the
start
hand.
like, no, you can
No,
do the hand.
3, 2,
Okay.
like that.
Just
Are
give
you
it like
ready?
a two beat and then go.
Gotcha.
This is going to be awesome.
Hello.
Okay, let's cut.
Tonight is Jack's ship to steer into the bridge in Baltimore. He wants to talk about the declining birth rates in the United States, and we're just going to kind of noodle what we've read and what we think it is, what we think the cause is. But with that being said, let's hand the reins over to Jack. I went
All
from
right.
boat to horse references.
Yeah, hi. No, it's hot Carl, or you can just call me Carl. That's fine
Yeah,
too.
Okay,
Carl.
hot girl.
Okay. Yeah, no, guys. I've been thinking about this quite a bit lately. I've heard the term thrown out there. Basically it's a term called rate above replacement. And the idea is how many children on average a generation has to have in order for the generation to replace itself. Because as everybody knows, we're mortal and we're not here forever. And it's sort of a
Spirits don't die.
concerning trend, and it's been going on for a while. And that this rate of children produced has been dropping, and it's been steadily declining for a long time. And so I wanted to go into some of the numbers to kind of just flesh that out, and then also just talk about why we think this is happening, and really what it could mean, other than the obvious. Is it all doom and gloom? Is it the end of the world as we know it? Coming
That's a
down
great
the tunnel, but. Essentially, what's been broken down, or I'm looking at some numbers here, okay, and
other beer.
it looks at general fertility rate, which is births per 1,000 women, ages 15 to 44. And these are U.S., this is going on globally. We'll get into that, but these are U.S. numbers, okay? Looking back at, let's say, 2014, the general fertility rate, again, births per 1,000 women, ages 15 to 44, was 62.9. Now, since then, that number goes down every year. It ends here on this graph I'm looking at in 2023. That number becomes 54.5.
Wow.
The crude birth rate, which is births per 1,000 people, 1,000 women, 2014 it was 12.5. Again, steady decline ever since. Now it's 2023, 10.7.
Wow.
To put things in some perspective, the accepted number of children per woman necessary for ensuring a generation has enough to replace itself, that's the rate above replacement, is 2.1 children, okay, per
So
woman.
average family, 2.1 kids.
Yeah,
Oh,
2.1
wow.
kids.
So we're
Now in
still
the earth,
above that. We're up, well above that.
no, we're not, unfortunately.
Oh, I thought it was 10.7.
No. 10.7 crude birth rate, that's births per 1,000 people.
Oh, gotcha.
Oh,
Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha. So
I'm
we're
sorry to
well
confuse,
below it.
but
Okay.
just to put it in some context, if you go back to the early '60s, the baby boomer days, okay, the average amount of children per woman was 3.5. It's the baby boom. But by 1976, for whatever reason, and we can get into it, that number plummeted to 1.7. Now,
Wow.
since then, it rose to 2.1 in 2007. And then for whatever reason, in 2023, it's 1.621. And the latest numbers, 2024, it's gone down even more to 1.599. Again, 2.1 being
Wow.
necessary. So
Wow.
that's where we are in this country alone. And this is a global phenomenon taking place in Western countries all over the world.
Right.
so first world countries around the world.
First world countries,
Western.
West, yeah, but even in the Far East, I mean, like quote unquote Western.
Right, right, yeah. Countries that have gone through the Enlightenment,
Cor, cor,
Japan, yeah,
yes,
Korea, Europe.
yeah, all over, yeah, all over those places, and obviously the United States as well. In fact, the only place where the birth rate's increasing is a lot of Africa and parts of the Middle East and some parts of East Asia, Southeast Asia, or Southwest Asia, like India.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at. I wanted to just throw this out to you guys to see what you thought, what might be the causes, what might be the immediate effects, and then obviously what could be the long-term effects. And we can look at it just through the lens of the United States, since that's where we are, and what it could mean for this country specifically, or take it as far as you guys want to go to. Just as far as a starting talking point. I already went through some of the historical trends where we've been since the baby boom. Um, so I want to get into like what you think are the immediate impacts, like what happens, if this trend continues in terms of to our country, a day-to-day basis, even if you want to get into it.
I mean, well, a couple like pop culture references to this. First of all, there was a great book that I actually read, and it wasn't Dune by Frank Herbert.
Herbert.
Hebert or Herbert?
It's Herbert.
Herbert.
I think it was called The White Plague. I want to say that's the name of it. Listeners, you can look it up, but it talks about like a societal, not from a mental aspect, but an actual disease where the birth rate stopped because women were just being born infertile, and you don't find that out until what, 18, 20 years later after they're born. It was a pretty good read. I'm not going to give any more about it, but it's a good read. But another thing is like another societal reference is like the Thanos thing from Endgame. He wants to cut off, and this may be the positive from this, is he wants to decrease the universe by half so that there'll be more resources for them to survive. I don't know where that comes into play, and that's kind of like a meta thing, but I don't know. I don't know necessarily if it's bad.
So you think there might be a net positive?
I think so.
Okay.
And in that, unfortunately, I'm making Thanos to be more of a hero than a villain. But if we decrease the population, there's going to be more resources for the population that's left to eat, live, space to live in. I mean, there are positives, but at what cost? Like Jack and I, Des and Mike, Jack and I are kind of the counter to your both having one child, and I don't think either of you have the inclination to have other children. Whereas Jack has like 19 kids, and I have the two boys. What do you have, 5, Jack?
I've got 4, Zeus.
Okay. You got rid of one?
No, it's always been 4.
You're
4
part
that
of
I
the
know of.
problem.
But you're not at 2.1, Zeus.
Oh, my 2 are a little bit more than they need to be.
I mean, I'm just saying.
And Jack's covering for all of us, actually.
Yeah, let me add that up.
Yeah, no, Zeus. I mean, you may have a point there, right? And there's definitely like environmentalists, like climate change people, that would argue that there's too many people in the world and there aren't enough resources, and we're destroying the planet. So maybe few of us is better, right? I don't buy that argument. I mean, obviously, just if you just kind of do the math in your head. If there are fewer people, then there are maybe as simple as there are fewer brilliant people, there are fewer artists, there are fewer innovators, there's less technology. But I was also thinking, just in terms of this country, think about something as simple as like Social Security, and retirement, right? So there's people that are going to be paying into a system that's not going to be able to sustain itself. I mean, for one thing, you're also going to have labor shortages. And I don't know what AI is going to do to the world. I fear the worst when it comes to labor and different jobs that are available. I think a lot of industries are going to be wiped out. So maybe this serves that purpose. You know what I
Well,
mean?
and
And then,
also to your point, Jack, yes, there will be lower labor, there will be less money being put into Social Security, but there will also be less need for more labor, more Social Security, because it's kind of a circular thing. If we have 100,000 people versus 330 million, we're going to have to put less money into it.
yeah, but the
You know
thing
what
is,
I'm saying?
people will age first. Like you
And
still have the current gen, like we're getting old, right? We're
people
hitting
live
that point.
longer.
And the people that pay for the old people are people currently young and working. I mean, it kind of feeds itself a generation later. So if generations keep getting smaller and smaller, what about the health care for the elderly? And what about, pressures on that system? We already know it's going, broke. I mean, this is just going to speed things along, I would think.
Yeah, I
You got to
mean,
go with the Logan's Run mentality. At 35, you get a lottery, you get cut
I mean,
down.
part of me, part of me thinks, and I want to hear Des's perspective on this, but with this issue, the thing that's so complicated and perplexing about it is we're dealing with the results, and you can't just attack the results. Like the result is there's less children being born. The fix is not like, well, let's have more kids. Like the problem is all these other things. Like we
Yep.
don't, and you have to figure out what all that stuff is, which I think, we'll get into. But it's what we're dealing with, like the result of the problem. So it's not about just solving, oh, we have to have more kids. It's like, well, why is this occurring in the first place? And
Right.
is it good? Is it bad? To me, I don't think personally, I don't know that it's good or bad. And sounds really horrible. To me, the bad part is that a bunch of people and a bunch of cultures on the planet that don't believe in the Enlightenment or like Western civilization or science, they're having tons of kids. Like that's no problem whatsoever. So
And that could be an education thing. Like they don't realize the ramification of
I,
having six kids in a low income
and
situation.
I'm not poo-pooing it. I mean, life is life, but I'm just saying I think a lot of times or I think Western civilization kind of has a death wish,
Yep.
and no one wants to talk about that. But we're so smart, we figured so much out, and meanwhile, it's like idiocracy. Meanwhile, the beat goes on. Like meanwhile, everyone else who doesn't navel gaze and who doesn't hate themselves or their culture, they're just plowing ahead, for lack of a better term. Sorry, everybody. But I mean, to me, it's like I want to get into like why is this happening? It's not so much the result, it's like the why we're
Yeah.
getting the result.
No,
Well,
that's
I mean,
go
one,
ahead, Desiree. Did you
oh,
want
go
to?
ahead,
So I
Des.
was gonna say, I actually listened to you guys probably don't listen to Jordan Harbinger at all.
I don't know who that is.
I
Okay,
Harbinger.
don't
great.
either.
Doesn't even
I'm
matter.
I'm
But
writing
he
it
does a
down.
lot of interviews with, authors and things. Anyway, he just did a bit about this situation. And the guy that he had on was arguing for, like, a lot of people are saying that, hey, we have too many people, but he was arguing, the contrary. So one of the things that he said that kind of like put a little bit in perspective for me was, okay, like a restaurant, you know, any restaurant, it doesn't even really matter. Um, you ever just see a restaurant get put somewhere and it just closes down like a year later
Yeah.
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 because it doesn't have the business. So if you have less people in an area, in the world, in the country, whatever, you're inevitably going to have less entrepreneurship, less innovation, less things, not because you have less people that can do that stuff, but you're also going to have less people consuming that stuff.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a
There's no
spiral that
demand.
way too.
There's no
Yeah.
demand.
Right.
Well,
Stagnation too.
and to that note, I think some of it may be like organic reasons versus our human nature to propel forward. Like, for instance, I would argue, being the father, I'm 54 and I have a 16-year-old and a 9-year-old. I am becoming more of the common new parent at what I was 16. I
Your
was
grandfather
42
was.
when my oldest was born, and even older when my youngest was born. So to that point, the the age at which we parent or become parents is becoming older, which leaves
Yep.
a smaller window. You follow what I'm
Yep.
saying?
Of
Totally.
Yeah, but
course.
if you have one baby across your entire life, it doesn't matter. You still have one baby or two baby, whatever. It doesn't matter what age you had that child. You're replacing your contribution to the population replacement is still going to be the same. Doesn't matter at the time that you did it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but Desiree, to that point though, there definitely was a change in perspective that happened after the baby boom and like around the 70s with all the different social movements that were going on.
I
Because I think back in the day, it was sort of encouraged to marry young, to have a family, to have multiple children, and the world was more ready to accommodate that. And I think, like Mike said, what the people that are sort of maybe driving a suicidal trend in Western civilization. Like we had movements in the 60s and 70s. We had a feminist movement that basically advocated for women to go to the workforce, that they could do anything a man could do, to get educated and have children later in life. And that's been going on our whole lives and getting more and more. Like Zeus said, more women are having children in their like mid to late 30s and even 40s. And so, like you said, the window has kind of closed at that point to have a huge
Six.
family,
Yeah, to
right? To
have
And
have
six. Or
and to
right,
that trend, if you add to that, there's less mortality, higher efficacy with contraception.
well, that's another thing.
Yeah.
Sure,
conception,
What's that?
conception, I think you mean.
No, I mean contraception. There's a higher efficacy with contraception. It's more effective.
right,
Um,
right, and also I mean, there's also abortion, which has become
so,
readily available, and at least was for decades, right,
and
and
that's where I
still is.
kind of lean towards the organic quality of this versus the put upon child birth rates by artificial means, like the improved contraception, less child infant mortality. So people are more comfortable with waiting till later in life to have kids because they know that there's a better chance that everything will be fine. But again, to that note, if you have a lower chance of infant mortality and a better chance of contraception, both of those are net negative for having kids at an early age. Would we agree?
yeah, because if the infant mortality rate is high, or just the mortality rate of children, you're going to have more children because you don't know if they're going to live or not. But if they
But the
do
negative
live,
part of
then you
this,
end up with like eight of them.
but here's the negative part of this. The negative part of this is when you had higher child mortality rates, you tended to have more kids because, and I know this is going to sound awful, but it's like kind of like when you get when you get a dog as one dog is getting older, you get a new dog, so you have that replacement one. This is really dumbing it down, but you see
No,
what I'm
I
saying
got you. I got you.
is you're not having multiple kids, not counting on,
But
but like banking on the fact that one of them may die. You know
but
what I
there,
mean? So you don't have three kids because you know the two that you got have a great chance of living full, fruitful lives. Is any of this resonating? Do you see
yeah,
where?
no, it is. But it's all no, and I agree. And this is all anecdotal, but it's also there is this cultural swing, and I don't think it's just one thing. So, I mean, this is anecdotal, but just looking at my father's family, right? So he came from his great grandfather was like one of 10, right? His dad was like one of 8 or whatever. He's one of 6. All his other brothers and sisters all had like 4, 5, 6.
My
Um,
great grandfather had 16 kids.
yeah. I mean,
You know,
my mom told me
But
that
there's that
when,
back then there were reasons for having that many kids.
right. I
They
mean,
don't exist today.
farmhands.
that's what I'm getting at. It's like when my dad, who's the youngest of 6, my mom told me that when they were dating and getting married and all that stuff, he told her he wanted to have like 6 kids. And my mom is like college educated and, worked in the city, and but she was like, no. Like, you know, 2, like we'll have 2. And so there was that downward pressure, I think, for whatever reason, like
Hold
the
on, but then she had
separation.
6?
No, I'm talking about
Oh,
my mom. Yeah.
oh.
He was the youngest of 6. My dad wanted a big
Okay,
family.
gotcha.
My mom was like, put the kibosh on that. Like, it's just me and my sister.
He's
Um,
like, keep that thing away from me.
but she grew up in a rural area, but she was, again, growing up in the 50s. She was like, I don't want to have a million kids. Like, everyone had a million kids. So there was this call. This is not new. There's been this, it's a long arc, you know what I mean? And it has a lot of reasons behind it. I don't think it's just one thing. Um,
Well, and also our pool of research on this is when you talk population, you have to talk a much larger period of time than other
just
things,
now. Yeah.
industry, things like that. When you talk population, you got to talk the span of humankind. When you talk industry,
It's
it's like 200 years. You
well,
know what I mean?
also, no, and also like biologic populations, whether they be humans, mammals, reptiles, insects,
But
there is a level of self-regulation, right? So is that what we're seeing? I don't know. I mean, is there some self-regulation going on in this? I mean,
maybe we're just becoming more
as
selfish as a society.
but I'm
Yeah.
just saying,
Well,
if you look at animal populations and other populations, and I'm not a biologist, whatever, but as birth rates drop, you tend to see an increase, and who knows, maybe it's God, who knows, but you tend to see an increase in females being born because increase in females, you don't need as many males as you do females to have a population increase. You need more females.
But to argue that,
You can have
women don't
like
die in
10,
childbirth.
but I'm just wondering if that's happened in the human population. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how you collect these statistics, but as population drops, is there a higher percentage of females being born? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, look, there's a lot of people on the planet. We don't have any danger of disappearing. I guess there's people that could make the argument that, like, well, at a certain point you can have a crash,
yeah.
right? So you can have it go down and it's manageable and then it can just go off the cliff. I don't know what that point is.
I read somewhere they're talking about it really being significant after 2064, so it's not far away.
Yeah, and that's not a lot of time.
But
No.
again, the net positive of that is we'll still have a steady flow of resources, but a declining consumption uh,
And then you have
factor.
an abundance of resources,
Well, that's
And
which
the
might
then
not be a
that,
good
balance.
thing
what I
either.
think that'll do is make us go through another boom. We're like, oh, there's so much food, we can have more kids.
I almost think that what we're experiencing right now and where it does concern me and I think it is kind of troubling is that this situation, unlike in animal populations and insect populations or whatever, it's kind of detached from biology. It's more cultural. It's more like artificial
Well, no, I
reasons.
was going to go the other way. I was going to say it's more about consciousness, like insects, dogs, cats, elk, whatever. They're not driven by material needs, as are we. Like when we have kids, even though we're not like, I'm gonna have a kid so they can keep me alive when I get old, there's a part of that that says legacy. Cats, dogs, caterpillars,
Well, kids aren't worth what
all
they
them.
used to be worth.
Yes, but these less conscious societal, from a societal standpoint, less conscious of legacy,
Yeah.
carrying on your name and all that. They're driven by something we can't even understand. It's way more organic than we are by far. You know what I
Well,
mean?
well,
Well,
you have a culture that downplays the family,
yep.
that downplays fatherhood, that downplays legacy and such and so forth. So you're going to have a decrease in that. And again, when I said children are less valuable today, I don't mean you can't put a value on life, but what I'm saying is you don't need to have children. If you had a farm, you need to have people to carry on. You need to have people to like work there, what have you.
But
You,
even
you
that
just
comes
don't
from a
have that
selfish
now.
place.
Well,
Even that.
Yeah, maybe.
no, well, it's that cultural shift that I think Zeus you were touching on. Like, I don't know if you guys have seen these TikTok reels or videos that pop up. There's this whole thing nowadays called dinks, dual income, no kids. It's these young couples, right?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
And so you have a generation of young adults. They seem to prioritize like their own pleasure, travel, hobbies,
Yeah.
career, and they
yeah.
view kids as an impediment to that lifestyle that they like. So that's
Mm-hmm.
that's a major cultural shift. Like Mike said, the quote unquote value of having children, and then we've touched on this whole, we got generations now that don't know how to talk to each other, that are growing more isolated. So you have like partnerships aren't forming at a young age, I think, as much as they did when we were younger. I mean, so it's not even like a voluntary cultural thing. For some people, it's just people are changing,
Yeah,
and
like look when you and I met, Jack.
yeah,
No I mean limited internet,
no,
You guys,
yeah,
it was
cell
like
phones.
it was at the gay disco. You guys met up
yeah, back in
Boom, boom,
'93.
boom,
back in
boom, chicka, boom,
'93.
boom, boom, chicka, boom, boom.
I remember
No, but
that.
like our interactions were
Nothing
like,
wrong with it.
Jack and I, how many times did we sit in your bedroom and just listen to CDs
And play video
play
games and hang
Sega
out.
and like really interact,
Yeah,
bust
but
each
Zeus,
other's balls.
As much as we tried, though, you and I together weren't making any kids.
We tried. I tried.
Well, I mean, look, let's dive into that for a second. This is generational, but I remember, at a certain age, like high school, college, or whatever, every girl I dated was on birth control. It wasn't
Yeah.
something we talked about. I don't know that that was always the case. I don't know if
Nope.
you go back
Maybe they just didn't want to
50
have kids
years
with you,
before
Mike.
that. What I'm saying is, I don't think if you go back to like 19, I mean, that wasn't the case in 1960.
Right.
People were still fooling around, people were still whatever. Um, but you didn't have the technology, you didn't have birth control, you didn't have all these other things that were there. So yeah, call it technology, call it whatever. I don't know that human behavior changed, but the overlay of women having that choice, right? Which is good. I'm not complaining about it, but you're going to have less children because people that are 18 to 22, they're going to do what they do,
Well,
right?
and even to that point, like
They're
the
not as
drop
much
of the
anymore.
But they're not as much anymore. But I'm saying if you look between 1960 and say like 1990, how many young ladies in from 18 to 22 were on birth control in 1960 versus 1990?
Right.
but that could have to do with the massive, and
Or
I know
using
it's not
birth
as big
control.
as other things, but the massive inclination for women to become they are more powerful in business and in the
Yeah.
world and in society, that their desire to have kids, and this, I'm not saying that this is my point, my thinking, but I would say that society at one point in time was far more about propelling women in the home to be homemakers,
Mhm.
Yeah,
raise
that's what I was
children,
touching on earlier.
and now it's more like we can
Girl
wait. I
boss.
think a lot of it has to do with that weight. The woman that has a child at 40
I think
rather
you're
than
right, Zeus. I think
22,
it's a smaller window. It's a
but a
smaller
massive effect.
it's a smaller and it's what's valued too. Like they're at a certain time before our time, previous generations. And I don't know this. I mean, just anecdotally looking at movies, like talking to people, like women, there's a lot of pressure on young ladies, on young women to have children. Well, that
Mhm.
doesn't exist
Yeah,
anymore. Like, I don't
I
think there's
agree.
people out there being like, if a young lady's 22 years old, I don't know that grandma's like, when are you gonna have kids? Like, I don't think that
She is
happens
grandma
anymore.
saying that.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's the only one saying it.
But not everyone else is
She may
saying
be
it.
the last generation of grandmas saying that. Like, you
Yeah,
know what I mean? Like, I think
there's not as much pressure.
the drive is has decreased.
And people are simple. People respond to pressure. We're not complicated. We're very simple.
Well,
And
we
so,
want to please. We want to please our elders. Okay, you want us to have kids? We'll have kids. But then my mom is like, my mom never propelled me to have kids, but as soon as I had a kid, she was happy. You know what I mean? Like I can't put my head around
well,
it, but there is a difference. My mom was so excited when we had my firstborn, and she was equally excited when I had the second one, but she was never like, go have kids. And I think that's the difference is back when she was born, it's like, go out, be fruitful, you know?
it was an expectation.
And now we're like, I'm like, Ollie, oops, I'm sorry. I'm like, with my kid, take your time, man, because I know I'm going to have to take a lot of responsibility in that too, because,
Well,
you're a kid.
but women are also again, we're not that old. I mean, again, this is only like 30 plus years ago, but I remember being 22 years old and dating girls and they were like, yeah, I got plans, man. Like I'm
Yeah,
not
I got
like,
Right.
shit to do.
I got
You
stuff
guys
to
are
do.
you guys
Like,
are kind of talking about, sorry to interrupt you, Mike, but
no, no, absolutely.
you guys are kind of talking about how back before this movement or shift in culture occurred, that there wasn't that women didn't have that mindset back then too. Because I guarantee you they had the same mindset. They weren't allowed to have it.
And the
Right.
Touche.
societal pressures
Yeah,
made them do
absolutely.
something against their will.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, no, the rise of feminism and like, you guys talked about even like
Yeah,
contraception is a huge part of this. Whether
huge
you
part of
whether
it.
you're whether you're okay with that or you're putting that down. I mean, obviously this is 2025. I mean, women have all the same rights as men and should, and if they want to pursue careers, God bless, get out
Right.
there and do it.
But it wasn't always
But
like that.
but it wasn't always like that, correct? And what is the cost of that? I mean, that's what we're really getting into. And also, I don't know if it was you, Mike, who said people respond to pressure.
Mhm.
I think that's another issue, and I mean, in addition to what we've been talking about, there's also simple financial pressures
And
of
these
of
aren't even like overt pressures. These are
Well,
No,
subliminal,
well, no, but as far
subversive pressures.
no, but as far as dollars and cents go, we talk. I mean, look, inflation, cost of living, cost of raising a child. A lot of people just don't want to take that on. They don't want to take it. I mean, I'm looking at a number. It says that the estimated cost of raising a child from birth to age 18 is over $200,000.
yeah, I'm past
Yeah,
that.
but you got to take present value into that. Was the equivalent of that in 1960 the same? I mean, in 1960 you could buy a house, like
Well,
a
that's what
straight
I
up
mean.
house for like $4,000.
No, you can't now. That's what I'm talking about. So
Yeah.
you have these young kids that can't afford more than an
But
apartment, and that's if four of them live in the same apartment to pay the rent. You know what I mean? So like for some people now growing up, the idea of owning a home in America, it feels like a pipe dream.
But also,
I think we a lot of the four of us, we're probably the last generation that had relative ease with home ownership. And that wasn't
relatively,
even
yeah.
easy. It wasn't even easy. It was tough, but achievable. Um,
No, some of us bought in 2006, so we ate it.
Yeah,
We ate it.
that was a horrible
Yeah.
decision.
I
Not a
bought in
six.
2001
Yeah,
and
not a
totally by
success story.
accident, but
But
the
look,
best time.
it's also, I mean, again, this dynamic, which is
Right
it's a
back, guys.
it's a big dynamic. I mean, you've got, and I'm just spitballing here, but you know, and I'm being very general here, but as the relationship between men and women or boys and girls, whatever age, becomes more like hookup culture as opposed to you better put a ring on it, right?
Right.
As that progresses, if I'm a woman, I'm less comfortable having a kid because I don't know that this guy Joe is going to be around tomorrow. So when you have this like permission to have things be more casual, which again I'm not judging it, then if if I'm thinking like a woman, I'm like, well, I don't want to get stuck having this kid by myself. So I'm using contraception, I'm doing this, I'm like taking care of myself. All of the incentives are to not have children early. And to Zeus's point, which I think is a great point, all you have to do is shut that window down by whatever reason,
Yeah,
and you're going to have less children. Like it does
that's right.
if a woman has like, they're going to have kids age 18 to 30 and all of a sudden or 18 to 40 and then that becomes like 32 to 40, you're going to have
Yeah,
less kids
yeah, 35. That's what I was saying
Yeah,
earlier.
but
Yeah.
the problem
overall
with
as a
that
population.
idea is who says they wanted multiple children to begin with?
I'm not saying
Or
they I'm not saying they did, but it was incentivized for them to have more children. Like it was the societal pressure, all of it was like pushing in that direction, and then that
Mhm.
just left, and
Right. And why did
this
it
is
leave?
what you get. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying this is what happens. This is the result. You end up having less children. And again, I'm not even saying that having less children isn't necessarily bad. I'm just, you know,
Yeah, but don't you think a lot of this did come from the counterculture of the late
of
60s, early
course,
70s?
of
Because the
course,
idea the idea was anything American as apple pie and family was to be cast out.
derided.
Right. I mean, and it's been going on our whole lives. I mean, so maybe this was the goal. And and to take it to like this sort of suicidal empire, which America and the Western world may be on its way to just, being phased out. When you look at some of like we've talked about ad nauseum immigration, right? I mean,
Yeah,
like we covered it on because we this podcast was the Biden podcast. You know what I mean? This
right,
was four
right.
years of that
We started
administration.
we started a month after he was sworn in.
Yep, and the hits kept coming 4 years
Yeah,
later, right?
a lot of material.
A lot of material. And one of the things is the massive influx of other cultures into our country, into England, into Germany, into
Western,
basically the enlightened Western world
yeah,
from third world and Middle Eastern countries.
because you need bodies.
And also, not only that, Mike, it goes back to that counterculture of the six. Like, if you hate America, how do you basically change America? Okay, you change it from the inside out. You know what I mean? You get Americans to stop doing what they used to do, and then you also allow an entire other culture to come into your country, and maybe they're the ones having kids.
Well, I
Yeah,
looked a
yeah.
bit on that, and actually, there's a decline in immigrants having children that are coming into the country as well.
Well, they're going to
Um,
be
uh,
influenced by the culture, but at the
yeah,
beginning, they're still going to be having more. I mean, we're ahead of them.
Yeah, but are they replacing that
I think
group? You
I
see
think
what I'm
that's the
saying?
idea.
Yeah.
I would
I
argue that's the
Um,
idea.
I don't hear this. I've never talked about this on this podcast before, but I find it ties right into this topic. My first wife was vehemently against having children. I didn't know that at the very beginning, but I found that out. And there's a whole subculture of people that are like they want to be childless. Again, the dinks, right? Dual income, no kids, whatever. And, whatever. People can do whatever they want. But I don't know that that culture, that subculture existed 50 years ago. I mean, that is a
it was a
modern
subculture 50 years
thing
ago.
that came about. And if you look at it, it's like, I mean, there's websites out there, just and forums on Reddit of people that are like child free, and they're not just like into not having children, they're like against other people having children. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they're like children are or they make you stupid, right? They keep you from experiencing the best out of life or whatever, and they make that argument. But what I'm saying is that whatever you think of it, I don't know that that existed before. I mean, maybe you can find some people in Paris and New York in the 20s that were like, I don't want a pram in the hallway. It's gonna like make my brain melt away. Like I
I
gotta,
actually think it was quite contrary to that. I think like a big family was a sign of success. And
yeah. But what I'm saying is, so whatever the reason is, we're dealing with things now that did not exist before. Like that attitude, if it existed, it was not. I mean, again, go on Reddit, start Googling stuff. There are hundreds of thousands of people that subscribe to this. That's new. That
well,
didn't
and
exist before.
and I think to that also, it's probably only been like the last 50 to 80 years where you had a doomsday clock.
Yeah.
Like,
People
you
that
know,
were afraid.
why do I
People are
want to
like,
bring children into
why
this
do I want
world
to bring
that's
how
gonna
many
blow up?
how many times
So
have you heard that? Yeah,
Yeah.
a million
General
times.
uncertainty.
Yeah.
yeah, so like I mean, I fought it. I wanted to have kids. I knew I wanted to have kids. It happened later. But I can certainly understand the inclination to not bring your offspring into a world that may blow up 10 years later. Why put them through
But the
that
thing is, just to dive in, because feel strongly about this, life sucks. Like, I mean, it's great, but it's also horrible. And so it's like bringing kids into the world is always fraught because it doesn't matter if there could be a nuclear war tomorrow where everyone could be destroyed. Life is brutal, man. I mean, it's hard. I mean, when everything's good, it's hard to think about bringing a
it's
kid into
hard
the
to do it
world.
just for
I mean,
yourself.
I'm just, yeah, I mean, life is cruel, man. Life can be very cruel, but it's also very great,
Yeah.
and that's the
I'd like
dichotomy.
to do
That's
a
what
little
makes it so
I'd
crazy,
like to do a
you
little
know.
comparison contrast here. So, Mike, you're done with your daughter, correct? Not going
I
to have another
mean,
kid?
I'm done. Probably not. Yeah, probably
Okay.
not. I
And
mean,
Des and I have
I'm kind
had
of
this
old.
conversation before, but my comparison contrast here, I've talked to you, Des. If you can, you said you don't want to have other kids.
No.
So from you, Des, we'll start with you. I'd like to know what your inclination to not having kids, and then we'll follow that with Mike's inclination towards it. Interesting to see what your drives are towards propelling.
Well, from the way that he said no, it seems like he would have more kids if he could, or if he was allowed to, or if
I agree.
Who, me?
that occurred. Yeah,
Me?
you,
It's
Mike.
Oh,
like,
Yeah, you, Marilyn, or yeah,
Marilyn
Marilyn Man,
Man.
Mike.
Yeah, I don't know. I went through a many years where I was okay with the idea. I mean, if I was sitting here right now and a bunch of stuff didn't happen and I didn't have kids, I'd probably be okay with it. Like I wouldn't have any regret. I went through many years and I was like, yeah, man, that's cool. I mean, it's nice being a dink. It really is.
Mhm.
But things change, you know. I mean, to me, it's all a miracle. I mean, if something happened, I would welcome it, but I don't really have any
Inclination.
regrets or yeah, I don't feel cheated. I mean, I just to me, it's less about me. To be honest, I think about like, you know, I'd love my child to have a sibling, but at the same time, my mom was an only child. I have a sister. We fought like cats over the years, I mean, it's no one has it perfect, right? There's people that have tons of siblings, and one of those siblings comes over and burns their house down, right? There's people that have no kids that think it would be great to have a kid. There's people that have three kids or two sons, and they're the Menendez brothers, and they kill their parents, whatever.
Right.
There's no
Yeah, but
everything.
those are like statistical things. That's going to
I
happen.
no, I got you, but what I'm saying is, at a certain point, you have to find some kind of peace
You count your
in
blessing.
in yourself and in your situation. If you're always wanting for something else, or if you're regretting, again, that's why meditation, religion, uh, whatever, all that stuff's important. Like we all get dealt different hands. You know what I mean? I don't think life is about like figuring out how to get what you feel you deserve or what you want. It's about coming to terms with the way things are to a degree. Not to be
So,
all metaphysical
So
about it, but
that was a heartfelt answer. My answer is I'm not fucking doing that again.
which is yeah,
No.
it's very hard. It's very hard for sure. And I don't know that I have it in me right now, man. I'm like
but
53 years old. It's hard having a baby,
I'll
man.
bet with both of you, though, were it to happen,
My world
and
would come crashing down.
I
I
but
would
would
not
embrace
enjoy
it.
that.
I would
you
totally
probably
embrace
wouldn't
it.
have an abortion either,
I'd make it work. I'd make it work.
right, Des? Do you think?
I might find a flight of stairs. That's all I'm saying.
Have a little oopsie.
Just be
Oops,
careful.
trips.
Well,
I'm
that's a heartfelt, honest answer too.
I mean,
Not
and I that sounds like an asshole thing to say, but it was hard. Like it was hard. I'm
yeah.
not like a mothering type. Like I don't have that. I mean, I did it, I guess,
I'm not saying you're
because I could, but
masculine, but you do have some qualities that lean more towards like I get that. I get where you're coming from.
and thank
But
God I didn't have a girl, because
oh
I
yeah,
don't even
I'm
know. I
very
don't even know
happy
what
I
I
had
would
boys.
don't know what I would have done with that, but
Yeah, I feel that it's funny how I mean, I have a girl and I'm like, man, I'm so glad I didn't have a boy. I mean,
mm,
I needed to be a girl dad, at least first. I don't know. That's more my
yeah.
speed. Maybe
Yeah,
because
I
it
don't
was
know.
later
I
in
just,
life.
I got better shit to do, I guess, than have a baby.
I just couldn't put up with the nonsense. Boys, there's so much nonsense with
No, boys are
boys.
awesome.
And
Zeus
No,
here's the
I'm
other
protecting.
saying they
thing.
are. But I'm saying if I had a son, it would be a lot of nonsense because I
Yeah,
know how I was.
but here's my argument. I think Jack will back this up. When my boy turned 16, I'm not standing at the doorway with a shotgun waiting for that girl to come and get him pregnant. There's a big
There
difference.
is a difference. No, I got you.
I think there's also, now that my boys are a bit older, and I mean, because they were so much fun growing up. I mean, they got along for the most part. Um, I, I could remember being a young boy, so there were things that I could get them into, and like, you know what I mean? And they enjoyed it, and it was fun for me. But I think that even as adults, the way you talk to boys and men as
Is
men is different than the way you talk to girls and women.
100%.
And
'Cause it's a lot
100%.
more
so,
of a suck it up quality.
well, no, no, I don't even mean that. I don't mean you got to be harsh with them. I just mean I don't know. Like when I talk to my sons, it's just nice. It's you know what I mean. We can all be
You,
ourselves. Nothing is off limits to talk about.
yeah.
I don't feel like I have to like really curtail my thoughts or my words like I would with a daughter. I don't know. At least that's how I imagine it would. I just imagine it would be different. And so not that I didn't want, if I had a daughter, then God bless. I'd count my blessings and I'd raise her the best I could. And like Zeus says on prom night, I'd be probably not happy, but you know what? Life goes on,
Life goes
and
on.
you know what I mean? So
You,
I don't think there's a preference you could have either way. I just know that I feel blessed to have had four sons, and I have no regrets either, Mike. Like I mean,
yeah.
like maybe my ex does. Maybe it would have been nice for her to have. Maybe she's like, oh, I wish I had a daughter, and mothers and daughters become best friends and all that, which, maybe that's true. I don't know.
But
Maybe
hey,
You
not.
know what's funny?
but
Like I have four
Yeah, maybe
nephews.
not that.
I have four nephews, and so I've seen them all grow up, and three out of the four of them were kind of knuckleheads. One of them was always had a good head on his shoulder, but now they're all like late college or past, right? Like over 20. They're all older, and they are amazing, intelligent young men. Like just
well,
like you're saying, Jack, like amazing to talk to.
Yeah.
But when they were younger, uh, they were running into walls and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, but now it's like I talk to them and I'm like, these four dudes are quality dudes. Like they're just good guys, like
That's how
super
I
and
good
feel.
guys.
and
Yeah.
that leans into what I was
Even
saying.
if they were retarded when they were
Yeah, they go
younger.
through that phase.
Yeah.
Don't use that word, Mike. That's a socially unaccepted word. Um, no, and Jack, I'm not saying you're vilifying me for the suck it up thing, but there really is something to man up, man. Because you know what? Manning up now ain't like it was back in Genghis Khan's day. Man up now
Hmm.
is get a job, do well in school,
Yeah.
take out the garbage. It's not crush the enemy. I mean,
Right. Well,
so
no,
man up
it's
is more about you in society as it is now, and hopefully will be for a while, you have certain responsibilities as a man. I mean, this is going to lean into some of the Jordan Peterson thing, but like you don't, and I'm not degrading women, but you don't have a wealth of high power line workers that are women, deep sea divers that are women. There are certain jobs in things that propel society forward that are more inclined to men. It's not, yeah.
yeah.
It's
No,
not to,
it's
it's not to deny that women have that capability. It's simply to say that maybe this is part of how society grew. Maybe there been some blip in the evolution of people, society, that maybe women would take more of those roles. But the fact of the matter is, as it is now, you're going to have more male police officers because they have the muscle, all these things. That's not to say that women can't do it. It's
yeah,
just to
but
say that they don't. And this is how society is formed around it.
well,
Does that
Zeus,
make sense?
that totally does, and that goes back to also the difference between raising a son and raising a daughter. Like if you're a young woman, let's say, or a little girl, Mommy, someday I want to grow up to keep a nice house like you do and have four children. That mother might encourage that daughter to do that, and there's no stigmatism about it. If you've got a son who says, "Dad, someday I want to grow up to be a house husband and raise the kids while my wife works," that kid's going to get razzed.
Yeah.
He just
Yeah.
is. No, no little boy is able to say that, and they just, you know what I mean. And maybe that's
Yeah.
wrong, but if a little boy says, "I want to be a cop someday," or "I want to be an offshore, driller," or "I want to be a deep sea diver or a fireman," or whatever, it's like, "Attaboy, you can make your dreams come true, son." You know what I mean? Like we just raise them with different expectations, I think.
And I think even our responses to these situations, like I made a comment that offended one of our guests when we were talking about female firefighters. Um, I won't get
Here we
into it,
go.
but like
Yeah,
there's a
no.
certain, at least from my perspective and other men's perspective, where you start to make associations with that. That's not to say that they're right or wrong, but they're just built in. And for you to not make those associations, it could be argued that that is a better mindset to be in, to not make those associations so quickly. But nonetheless, we make those associations. They're not evil. They're not misogynistic. They're just our observations of the world.
Well,
But that being said, I see a female cop. I treat her with exactly as much respect as I would treat a male cop.
you
Of course.
better.
But
You better.
but if you look
Yeah.
at you
You
look
still
at
got a gun.
Yeah.
right, but if you look at the perception from, remember when we had the guys on from Shots Fired? He brought up a great point that, and this has, I don't want to get in, I don't want to lean into the trans thing, but it definitely has a part to play in this. I think a very minor part. But he was like, here's the problem when you've got somebody that um, identifies as one thing. I'm a male police officer. I go in there and I think I'm going to be going possibly up against another, or going up against a female, but it's not a female. And they've got the muscle structure, the build of a male. Your preparation for those situations is going to be different. So yeah, this is a really
Yeah,
spicy.
that's a whole different episode, I
Yeah,
No,
guess.
it's
what does that have to
but
do with anything?
what's
Well,
that?
What does that have to do with anything about
Um,
birth, kids,
what's
birth
that?
kids?
well, I got a quick question
Go ahead.
for Desiree. So, what do you have like girlfriends that are in line with what your thought like what's word on the street? Like do you have friends that are like, I've got 10 kids and I want 10 more? Or, like is it to the individual, or do you feel that this is a societal shift? Do you feel like you're part of a shift, or do you feel that you as an individual are just individually different than most people? Like, what's your
Um,
gut feeling?
well, let me just share with the podcast land out there.
Yeah.
So I'm 36 years old. So
Mhm.
You don't look a day over
I
34.
am a millennial,
Yeah.
technically. Um, so I kind of have a little bit of perspective on this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
So I've got a few friends that are eager to have children. I've got a couple that like would have them, I guess, if it happened. They're kind of impartial. And then I have more friends that are, yeah, I ain't trying to have no kids.
Like zero.
I don't want it. I don't want anything to do with that.
And they're approximately around your age group.
Yeah.
And the ones that ain't gonna have, I don't want nothing to do with that. Are they the ones that would do things to eliminate that?
That doesn't even matter, I don't think.
What do you mean eliminate
I
that?
think it does. I think it does. So you got your group that wants to have kids, you got your group that's impartial, and you got your group that will take active measures to prevent that, even if they were pregnant. So that's what I'm saying. These ones that are against having kids, would they like have an abortion if it occurred, or because I think
Well, it's
that's
not going to
part of
occur.
it.
That's that if you are very much not about having kids,
You
you're
can,
smart enough to know how the fuck not to have kids.
yeah.
Like,
Buy a house with stairs.
No,
Are they
contraception.
are they in relationships with people that with men that are like, oh, okay, I'm with this? Or are they like,
I have one that
yeah, don't name names, but
she is not, how do I say this? She does not
complete.
want to have kids.
Yeah.
And he does. That's the best way I can say that.
Yeah. And
Without
that's
giving any
hard.
different. And it is,
That's hard.
yeah.
Yeah, it's breakup time.
Well, they're married, so.
Oh, jeez, I guess they didn't talk this out before.
Yeah,
Well,
that's got to be talked
I
about.
think the viewpoint may have changed along the way.
Mhm.
And I will say, like in my situation with my first wife, and kudos to her, at least before we got married, she was like, "Listen, man, I don't want to have kids. Like, I'm not saying I never want to have kids, but I don't want to have kids now, and it's a good chance I'm not ever going to want to have." So she was she stepped
Forthright.
up. She's very
Yeah.
forthright. So I went into it eyes open. I have no complaints. But not having that conversation, I mean, to me as a guy, getting married implies having kids. Now, I may be old, but to me, it does. And so if your feels are that you don't, that needs to be discussed ahead of time.
Mm.
Well, and
And
let's
if
look at
it's not, like if you agree to
Well,
get married to someone
I
and you
think
don't say you never want to have kids, I think that's kind of crappy,
well,
personally.
I
go ahead,
think that
Chris.
I think in that situation, like I said, I think that it was maybe implied that, well, we'll get I'm sure that I don't know. I'm not in their bedroom. I didn't talk about it.
Cross that bridge when
But
you come to it, kind of thing.
kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, hey, let's like, let's get, established, maybe like find some jobs and shit in a home and like
But
those
it's
things at first,
so,
and then maybe
yeah,
we can visit that,
later.
that when it gets there. And I think and it got there, and
That's hard,
It
now
man.
it's
changed.
different.
That's
Yeah.
hard because look, you're not just dealing with opinion, you're dealing with like instinct. You're dealing with like
But
root, like instinctual feels, right? I mean, that's hard to just be like, we'll deal with it when we come across it. I'm like, I don't know, man. I mean, for me, again, for me, marriage implies having kids. But
Well, here's the
again, that
deal.
may be old. That may be
I
old school, but
I don't know. I get where she's coming from, because and how your opinions can change about children.
of course. And you gotta allow for that.
absolutely.
You gotta allow for that, of
And you have
course.
to honor, and you have to be honest with yourself, because here's where it gets a little bit unfortunate for the kids. Let's just say that she never said that she never shared that. Okay. Or she did share that and he talked her into it. Either
Hmm.
way,
Yeah.
she now has this baby that she doesn't want.
Yeah, no one wants that. That's
And
horrible.
then there's going to be resentment.
Yeah, that's horrible. That's why you gotta talk about it.
But I mean,
But
again,
then is that
like,
resentment against the child or against the spouse?
It
Because
Both.
those are two very different things.
I don't
I mean,
know.
both.
It could be, but it could be, I mean, it could be none. I don't know. You never really know, but I mean, you don't really know how you're gonna feel about it until like the time could come. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just saying
It's hard to be pregnant.
but I'm saying if you're
That's
getting married to
I didn't
someone,
have a problem with it.
I'm just saying
Yeah, it's because you've never done it before.
if you're looking to get married to someone and you strongly believe that you do not want to have children, you have to bring that up. You have to make that
If
known
it's a
that
strong belief, yeah, I think
if it's a
so.
strong belief, if
Well,
But
you're
if
then
it's
like,
like you don't really know, I mean, if you don't know if you don't know, I mean,
I,
well,
and
and
it, and I he may have also been like, oh, I don't know. Well, yeah, we'll just figure it out when that time comes,
it's a
Also been in
big,
the same boat,
well, I think the
what do you do
inclination of the
now?
man, I'm sorry. I think the inclination of the man for having children versus the women is not vastly different, but notably. Like I think men are more about legacy, about carrying on the name. And that's a societal thing. Like if women if there was a if when we got married, the choice was always there, and now it is, and it's more common to either keep your last name or change your last name. If it wasn't masculinely driven, there might be a different outcome. And even like and I don't think this necessarily, but my words that come out when I think of like uh the term selfish comes out, and it really does apply. And like when a woman doesn't want to. I don't think women are selfish, and I don't think that is, but it's like that first bubble that pops up, and then you walk through that, and you change your perspective. But I would be interested in
So who's being selfish? You or her?
exactly.
You from wanting her to
I'm
to
not
do
saying
something she doesn't want to
that
do? Who's
I
selfish in that
feel this.
situation?
I'm not saying that I feel this actively. I'm saying that the first inclination is that. But I'm open-minded and conscious enough with how things are and how I feel about things that I push it to the side. But it is also, and I think in society's views, it is often the term that we would use in a situation.
Well, yeah, but Zeus, I mean, like we talked about, it's not just women nowadays because of the cultural shifts and also because of the pressures, both culturally and financially. It's guys
Yeah.
too. Guys don't want to have kids because they
Yeah,
feel like
and
they can't
to be
afford
I
it.
think
And
that's a
honest,
big change, though. I
well,
think,
no,
yeah,
but again, like let's look at just from a financial perspective, like we talked about the dollar amount, right? And men have this pressure on themselves to be the
to be the
providers, to
provider.
be the protectors.
exactly.
And if you don't think you can do it, or you don't, you know what I mean? Men nowadays just as likely as women to say, I don't want to do that.
Well,
I can't do it.
yeah, I mean, and also like again, I'm not a woman, but if I'm a woman and I'm like really interested in this guy and we're dating or whatever, or thinking of getting married or having kids or whatever, and he's like a basket weaver and like wants to do, study interpretive dance and has no means of like taking care of this kid, I don't know if I want to have a kid with this guy. Like
Right.
it's scary. It's a
But
huge
that's not a
responsibility.
selfish outlook. That's a pragmatic outlook.
I'm just saying, if I'm a woman and I'm dealing with this dude that doesn't
So
have
what
his
would be
head
the
on
selfish
straight,
outlook? I'm curious.
I don't know. I think it's more of like a societal drive. It's not an inclination that I have. I've always felt like, as far as like abortion, like I support 100% a woman's right to have an abortion. It's her body, her life. But I also reserve the right to make judgment, not on a societal level, but in my own personal microcosm. Like
you
if
Yeah,
I
can
and
have
know
that's
your own
fine.
somebody,
Everyone's
thoughts.
entitled to their own opinions.
Yeah, you can
No
have your
one's
yeah,
own
yeah.
fighting that,
thoughts.
So
but
it's not my inclination to say selfish. It's more of like a reaction. I don't feel that women that don't want to have children are selfish, or women
Or
that,
men.
you know what I mean, or men that. But 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 my brain automatically goes to that term, and then I push it to the side. But the 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 crux of this is that my brain still goes to
yeah,
that
that's because
first.
that's your gut instinct.
Having a
Right,
child is instinctual, but it's completely irrational in our
right,
current
right.
modern
Listen,
society.
listen, you
It's
guys,
totally
hold on,
irrational.
But
hold
does you
on.
understand what I'm saying? I'm not saying I'm
I'm
not
I'm not, I
making
don't,
it. Yeah.
no, I don't, and to be honest, the
Oh,
world fish
wait.
or
I don't
for
think
not
you're
having
selfish. I was never
any, for
saying
not
that.
having more children. I
Hmm.
don't care. I don't, what your opinion of me does not affect the way I
I
sleep at
hope it
night
was a
or
little.
the world's. Not yours specifically. I'm just saying anybody's. I don't
Gotcha.
really give a shit. Like
Right.
it doesn't matter to me if you think no, because I'll tell you this, being pregnant is hard. Okay. I don't
I can't
care.
even imagine it.
There might be some women out there that are like, oh yeah, I loved being pregnant. Okay. If, there might be some that did have great, easy, beautiful pregnancies. Most of them are lying to you. It was not fun. It was not fun. It wrecks your body. It wrecks your brain. It, I got, even after the baby comes, I got terrible postpartum anxiety.
I was just gonna say,
It
didn't you
fucked
say
me
you
up.
haven't?
And I
Yeah.
don't ever want to do that again. I don't ever want to do that again. Like, I'm not,
Desiree,
like,
Desiree, I don't like being sick for more than 2 days. Like if I get the flu and it lasts more than 48
Hmm.
hours,
I
Yep.
couldn't brush my teeth.
I'm done. Like I'm done.
I
Like
couldn't brush my teeth with mint toothpaste, okay? Like, I had to get cinnamon, like, because I just couldn't do it.
look, I could never do it. I look, I can't deal with the idea of having like when I hear about parasites and not saying kids are I'm not saying that.
Hmm.
But when I started having like when I look at like illnesses people have, I have very low threat. So I can't even imagine having a kid. I can't imagine it. Which is why every day, and I've said this since I was a kid, I am thrilled that I'm a guy. Like there is not a day that I don't wake up and I'm
Yeah.
so happy that I'm, you know, a guy. I
And I
would
think
never want to be a girl. But
it,
I love women. I
the
just would never want to
idea
be
of
one.
bearing a child, there is an idea out there that that's pregnancy is beautiful. Da, 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 da.
Yeah.
And it is.
It's not. It's not. It is not beautiful. It's fucking terrible.
It is
Okay,
amazing though.
from day one to day after a lot of after a lot of
It's
days after birth,
hard.
it is hard. And
It's
people do the
work.
society does not. They don't convey that to women, or they used to not.
Mm.
Now it's coming out. Now it's kind of being like, okay, hey, there's a shitty part of by and so girls are afraid of that. They don't want to do that.
Yeah.
There's one bit of it.
But I will take that and but I also know a lot of women that have had children and they're like it's the best thing that ever happened to me.
I think it has to do with your
Yeah,
experiences and
when
your
you get
perspective
past
and
all
your
the
drive.
bullshit, because because
Granted,
your brain can
granted,
like look back and say, oh, okay, yeah, I made that sacrifice for this baby, and that's okay.
granted.
But
No, I'll give you that.
here's an interesting perspective that not to take you out of the equation, Mike, but Jack will probably relate to this more because we both have more than one child. From a guy's perspective, and this is very base, like caveman brain, but when your wife is pregnant, there's a hotness that goes on there too. Like,
Jesus.
no. But no, I'm not being like
No, I
I'm not
want Jack to talk
like
about this. I'm gonna hang
like
back. I'm
like there,
hanging back.
but there's like
Since this does not
there's I
involve
think
me.
it's just in our heads where there's a sexy quality to a pregnant woman. Not saying that you want to go out and only find pregnant women to like get with, but like there is a certain drive that is there when they're pregnant also. You're seeing this fruitful, like this bearer of your children. I can't delve into it, but like I
I
don't
get
No,
know.
it. No, I
meanwhile, she
get.
feels like a fat whale. That's what she
I
feels like.
I
But
don't know. See,
the guy is like, yeah.
well, I
Yeah,
mean,
but
I
you
don't
know what?
know.
You're guys. You would have sex with anything with a tit. It doesn't matter.
I
Yeah,
don't know about that.
yeah.
But do you know what I'm talking about, Jack? Maybe you can put it in better words.
Well, I know that as far as us, we're animals, right? And there's animal instincts that kick in, and the hips widen, the breasts get enlarged. I mean, there are things that happen physically, and I don't know if it's true of. I mean, I'm not a woman, but I've heard stories from women that for whatever reason they're more looking to have sex when they're pregnant. There's
Yeah,
something
because
that
they can't
happens.
Oh
get
yeah.
pregnant.
Well, not only that,
Oh,
there's something happen. Like there's a physical urge that increases
Yeah,
supposedly.
because
And
you
maybe
cannot
that's
get
like
pregnant again.
evolutionary. Maybe that's like evolutionary. Maybe that's like our brains, the woman's brain saying, I need these guys to protect me, and this is how I can get them to do it. And for the guy, it's like, I need to protect them because now they're bearing my child
It
and
could
their
be on an
drive
animal
is,
level. On an
yeah,
animal
yeah.
level.
Okay, again, it's because as a woman that is pregnant, you cannot get pregnant again. So that barrier in your mind is gone,
That's
and
a
so it's
great
not
aspect.
blocking that hormonal like that sex drive. It is that thought does not block that
That's
because
a
it can't.
really
That
good
thought's
perspective
gone.
on it.
Shit, you don't care about
I
that.
Right, I
I'd never
got you.
considered that. They can go willy-nilly because they got nothing to
Yeah,
worry about. Yeah. That's a really that good point, Des. Really good point. And maybe that's part of the driving them in is like I can do this and I don't have to worry about anything. I
Yeah,
do think
possible.
that it has to do more with like a protective quality. It's like and that coexisting with the woman going, I need to keep them on board with this. We're not done with this journey yet.
I don't
And
know,
then
but I kind of maybe you did that, but most men, if they're gonna cheat during the pregnancy. So
hmm.
I mean, you can look at it either way. That's
see,
statistically true.
Well, that might be some kind of animal instinct too. Like, oh, my job is done here. I must, I
yeah,
must, I must
I
plant
must
my
go and
seed
impregnate
somewhere
somebody
else.
else now. I mean,
Could
there
be.
is like, I'm sure culturally, like throughout the ages, men were more like, go into this village, impregnate as many as you can to carry on your legacy, and then go to the next village and do the same.
Well, I mean, I mentioned earlier that there are parts of the world where this birth rate below replacement is not a problem. In fact, they're having plenty of babies, in places with totally different cultures where maybe it's
Yeah.
more acceptable for a man to go from one woman to another to another. I mean, maybe that's the case. I'm not sure, but in this country, it's frowned upon. Obviously. I mean, you're not supposed to be
Well,
doing that. Whether that's Des, you said it's statistically the case
I don't know
that
the
guy.
statistics on it, but it is statistically true that I'm not saying that all men cheat. I'm just saying
No,
if they are going to be the cheater, it is statistically a higher of a possibility for them to do it within the last trimester of pregnancy. That's a statistic.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, just from my personal experience was I was like hyper protective. Like I
Yeah,
wasn't thinking that at all.
that's
I
what I
was
was leading
like,
into.
yeah,
yeah,
I was like complete opposite. I was just like so focused
And for
on
all we know, maybe there's
her
pheromones
well-being and
that get put out during pregnancy that were us, this group of four or five or four, that this group is not aware of. But maybe there's pheromonal impacts that are like when a woman is pregnant, that she sends out more, for lack of a better term, scents, like things that we and
yeah. But
like
Desiree's talking about guys that don't sleep with their pregnant wives, but they go and sleep with other women while their wives are pregnant,
yeah.
right?
I think they still sleep with their pregnant wife. I think they
But
do both.
It's
I think that leans towards the going to the other village and impregnating in
Right.
group of
the
people.
other
Right. Or these
village.
guys.
So
Well, I think these guys are just dirtbags, at least in our
that there's
culture,
that
anyway.
too. There is the dirtbag quality that I was not gonna delve into, but yeah, there's that too. So again,
And as a woman, how do you know how do you really know what you're going to end up with? You going to end up with a dirt bag? Or are you going to end up with the protect? You don't
You don't
know
know.
that.
You don't
You
know.
don't know.
I'm telling you, it is scary to have a baby
Yeah.
in a
Oh,
lot of
you're so
aspects.
vulnerable. You're so vulnerable.
well, and in particular with your particular case, I don't know that your first the guy that gave birth to your child was necessarily a dirtbag. It sounds like he's at
Well,
least
I gave
somewhat.
birth to him,
Yeah, the
No,
but
guy that
no.
gave birth to
Yeah.
your
I'm
child.
Yeah.
sorry. You know
No.
what I mean. You know what I mean.
Yeah. Men. Hey,
But
Zeus.
my
Men can't get pregnant. We did an episode on
This
that
is
too.
my
oh well,
favorite episode. This is
we'll judge us in a few years. No, I'm sorry. But you know what I meant, Des,
yeah.
is that you don't make him sound like a complete dirtbag. You don't make him sound like he's great, but he's present. But Craig,
He is a
you,
good dad. He was not a good partner.
yeah.
but
That's
the
what I'll
guy
say
that
about
you're
that.
with now, he seems to be a good guy. Like you know,
I would probably be overly annoyed with how fucking protective he would be.
yeah, yeah. Hey,
I'd be
Jack,
like,
you
I
didn't
can
think
literally
this.
walk. I'm fine. I can use my feet to go places. It's okay.
Jack, you didn't think this was going to be a spicy meatball this episode.
No, I,
I'm
I, I,
feeling like,
I kind of did. I thought that this would spark some conversation. What you know what I mean? Because there's so many different factors as to what might be causing it and what might be the effects of it. I don't know if we have time. I just wanted to just delve on something as far as if any kind of from what I understand, the only hope that maybe this reverses itself is supposedly Gen Z and Gen Alpha. They're becoming a little more conservative, and many of them are becoming more religious. That there's religiosity increase trends in the very younger generation now. If that happens, if that takes hold, then maybe people will go back to more traditional family, sort of uh, close knit communities, families, support for each other, support for having more children. I don't know whether that's going to bear fruit or not. I mean, that could just be bullshit. But I wondered if there's any kind of government policies maybe that might come into play to reverse the trend. I remember
Um,
Donald Trump at one point said something about in vitro fertilization, about how he wanted to push the insurance companies to maybe cover some of that because right now they don't really cover
And they don't
any
cover
of
it, and
it.
it's still a multi-billion-dollar industry. So I don't think we're all
Right.
doomed. Because I mean, if you look at that, if you look at the
The cost.
infertility and the adoption industries, they are billion-dollar industries.
And the
So if people want
adoption
kids out there.
and the adoption of fertilized eggs. Remember we talked about this?
Yeah, I
There's
mean,
like
so people
estimates
out
it's
there want to have
5 to
kids,
10 million
and they're willing to
fertilized
pay for it.
embryos that are already out
Well, people
there.
who have a lot of money, I guess, are willing to pay
I
for
mean,
it.
if we don't, if
Well,
they
I
don't
mean,
get adopted, they're going to get turned into the drone army.
Well, that was Tor's plan, remember?
Yeah,
To freeze the abortion attempts or something to not
yeah,
allow it. Well, I ask if there's any incentives the government can put into play. I remember seeing an interview with the I don't know if he's the president or the prime minister of I think it was Hungary.
You're
Is it Victor
Orban.
Orban? Yeah, and he was talking about trying to preserve the culture by giving more like cash benefits essentially to people that start more families and completely sealing the border, which he gets a lot of crap for.
listen,
Yeah,
as much as
Uh,
as much as, really money kind of has a lot to do with it, we don't want to bring kids into a world that we can't fucking even afford to feed them. I
Right.
think that the more of the shift is because women do not want to have kids. They
Of
don't.
course. No, I understand
And
that.
you
But if
can't,
you're
money and government incentive is not going to change that.
You don't think if there's a married couple that maybe has one child, but they know that they can get financial help to help them
Nope.
afford a second child, that
No.
the, because like you said, there's a lot of women that actually don't look at their pregnancies as a completely negative thing. I mean,
but
my ex, we have 4 kids, and the first was C-section. The other 3 were all the way, full childbirth, and I think if she could have done it again, she probably would have. You know what I mean? Like, there's
yeah,
some people that actually like thought it was, not a completely
I know.
terrible
That's what I said.
experience.
Some people are like that, but it was not kind to me.
No, I hear
yeah,
you, Des.
you're
I think maybe if it, I don't think it's money. If there was going to be an incentive that might help, I think it would be more um,
A home.
hey, why don't we
but
give this FMLA that we have is bullshit. We need to give, if you look at Europe or France, let's look at France. You get like a year off after you have a kid. You get like laundry service free to your house.
Oh,
Like,
look at Germany. Germany puts the kid through college before it's all over with.
but
It's
before all of
we're
fully.
not talking
this,
about college. You can pay for that yourself. You can get there on your own.
but before
Talking
all
about
of
like
this,
just
there was instinct, right? I mean, so I mean, I don't know that. Again, having a child is completely irrational. So I don't know. I mean, for time immemorial, like since beginning of time, it wasn't because people had incentives. There was a
That's a good
there's
point.
a natural desire. I mean, I'm talking about in total, not the individual, but in total in a population,
So,
people seek this out, which is why it happens. It's, there was no one in like 2000 BC was like, let me get my abacus and figure out the calculation. They were just like, I want to have kids, man.
yeah, it was more like, do I have enough crops to support? And probably wasn't even that. We just weren't that culturally, mentally evolved. So I assume that we're getting close to this.
Yeah,
well, hold
no, I
on.
mean,
Here's the other
unless it,
thing. Here's the other thing, Jack. You ever
good.
heard of trad wife? A trad wifing?
Yeah,
What's
Yes.
that?
So again, it's not all
traditional life.
doomed.
What's trad
No,
wifing?
Trad.
that's like a modern a new generational movement to basically women who want to be traditional wives, like basically take things
Mhm.
back to the 50s, early 60s, as far as just keeping a clean home, keeping your man happy, uh, you know, doing everything, I guess, that women pre-feminist movement were sort of
We're doing.
expected to do,
Hmm.
like we talked about earlier. So they're advocating for that. Now,
Okay.
I don't know how many women are actually on board with that, though, Desiree. Like, I
No,
think
I
that's
don't. Not that many, but I don't know if that includes bearing children.
right. Right,
But
I got you.
So before we wrap up, I had a and this is going to get way metaphysical, but I think you guys will see where I'm coming from. So, looking at the Earth as like a
The
living
Earth,
entity, the Earth.
ERF.
I've from, I don't know, maybe it was a book that inspired this thought process, but if we were to look at the Earth as this living entity and we're just these, these organisms, much like a tick would be to a dog. You know what I mean? We're just these things that live on it, and
We're
it's a
just
living.
specks.
What's that?
We're just specks of dirt.
Yeah, but what if? And this is again, this is a very metaphysical concept. But what if some of this stuff is we're just the ticks that the dog is scratching off, and the Earth is the dog, and that this is how it's just going to happen, that the Earth is cognizant of what we're doing, and it's doing what it can from its own, again, metaphysical place to control our population.
Yeah, we're
Maybe it's
connected
so
to
much
it.
further out of our control than we even think. Like much
Well,
like, do you
as an
remember the movie The
individual,
Happening? Has everybody seen The Happening?
No.
mm-mm.
No,
So The
I heard
Happening
it's
was
terrible.
it wasn't terrible. It wasn't great, but
Okay, so
essentially the earth starts shaking us off. It's like sending out these pheromones and people start killing themselves. I I don't know if you get where I'm coming from, but maybe we're just not even nearly in control of things. Maybe it's not
no,
societal things. Maybe it's a scent being sent in the air.
Well, we're not in
well,
control. Yeah.
yeah, I know, but I do think like we are sort of we do still control what we do as
Yeah.
individuals,
Individually.
and if civilization or even like Western culture wants to continue on a suicidal path, then it's not going to do anything to sort of change these incentives and pressures. You know what I mean? Like if you have the cultural issues and you have the financial burdens and you have the influx of other cultures that aren't Western and aren't enlightened, you're pretty much on a train to nothing. Now, in terms of now, as far as the Earth just deciding to get rid of us, if the tectonic plates keep moving and we have more tsunamis and more
That's true.
cataclysmic climate change, like the way they talk about is going to happen, whether it's because of what we do or the Earth decides to shake us off. That's one thing. Like if there's like a Thanos moment that the Earth basically wipes out a quarter of the population, okay, then that's beyond our control. But this 2.1 number, individuals could try to do something about that, but it's going to take a lot of them, and that doesn't seem to be the trend right now. So
And I
that's
think
kind of,
also to your numbers, and I'm surprised I didn't think of this earlier, but with people living longer and
yeah,
our breeding being lower, that doesn't that is actually, now that I think about it, kind of a scarier aspect of this is that
for the old.
we're feeding the cancer that's going to die and go away anyway, while we're not reproducing these new cells to create more life. That I think maybe we could have touched on that earlier, but that is certainly an interesting aspect to it that I hadn't considered before, is that we're keeping, and kind of the world is that too. We're like the world is living longer and the new cells aren't coming in. It's very, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was trying to say about the whole Social Security problem for like the people who are aging will have no support or enough support to even sustain their health and their care. But
And then by the time they die off, the young cells of this body that we call Earth will be in a place of jeopardy in their age
yeah,
where their health is declining, and they've got
depletion.
less people to.
Right.
Wow,
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty
Yeah, but
deep.
it's all good. It's the AI is going to take us all out anyway. So on that note, guys, I think we have been on for a while. It might be time to do the hand things and wrap things up. There we go. All right, we'll see everybody next week.
Take care, everybody.
Okay, bye.